Hey David, welcome back to University of Toronto Mississauga's Get Hired Fair. We're so glad to have you and Moorelands Camp back once again. You're here all the time and we are so thankful. But just because I know you doesn't mean everybody who's watching knows you. So can you introduce yourself to us, David, and a little bit about the camp?
Definitely, Jason. So I'm David Borsook. I'm the camp director of Moorelands Camp. We're one of the programs of Moorelands Kids. We're a small but nimble charity in the Greater Toronto Area who works with families who face financial barriers. So all of our programming is either free or heavily subsidized, and all of our programming focuses on growing the kids as leaders. So a lot of those skills that students at U of T or students as young as 6 need to succeed in the job market today, that creative problem solving, that teamwork, that responsibility, that's our focus, and we're hoping to empower the kids to transform their lives.
That's brilliant. And we always love having U of T alum back on the campus, so welcome. Not only as an employer here today at the Get Hired Fair, but as an alum, we welcome you back, David.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about what you just shared, because there's quite a few things that students learn at the camps. Mm-hmm. But likewise, we're hoping that our students demonstrate, certain skills as well. So what do you value most with the initial interactions that you have with students at high volume events like a Get Hired Fair, an information session, networking event?
Yeah, definitely. So at a high volume event like this, or even at a smaller volume event, I'm always looking for two things. I'm looking for students who are willing to work with the populations we serve, because not everyone is, and we totally understand that. And we're looking for students who are open to learning. We at Moorelands have a very intensive training that we do with our staff. That's why we have such a strong program. Mm-hmm. And what we're looking for is we're looking for people who will really take to that and see that those growth opportunities we offer for the kids, we also want to offer for staff. And, sometimes that experience that, I have all of these credentials, all those kinds of things, I know that's really tough. As a former U of T student myself, I know that's always that pressure. And so instead, one of the things we like to say is at Moorelands, we want to be your first job experience. We want to help you learn those skills and grow as a person. And so that's more the tact that we take.
So let's dive a little deeper into that. Mm-hmm. When you're at a high volume event like a Get Hired Fair or an information session, should a student have a ready-made elevator pitch when connecting with you?
I think it really depends on what the student is looking for. Some of them, 100%, I will always listen to it and I want to hear it, especially because for me as the employer, I have about 8 different types of jobs that I'm hiring for just for our summer programs. We also have fall-winter programs that we offer in the city, and those are just even more things that I can try to make those connections with. So when the students have that elevator pitch, sometimes I can say, okay, you know what, I know you're not looking for something at the camp, but we have opportunities in our development department. We have opportunities in our city programs, all those kinds of things, and that helps me make sure that it's a really good match between us as the employer and the student of the prospective employee, because it's not just about us, it's about them as well.
And then, David, so those tie in nicely, right, to help us understand, but how can a student stand out or even be memorable? Like, we're going to have about over 1,000 students walk through a year. How does a student stand out or make themselves memorable?
To be honest, and I know this is really tough because I remember being in those shoes, just being willing to come up and talk to us is a big, big deal. There's lots of students I see who, I get it. It's really hard to go up to someone that you've never spoken to before and start chatting with them, even just to say, can you tell me a little bit more about your organization? And so if I already see that you're willing to come up to me and start having that conversation with me and building that relationship with me, then I know that the kids we serve, you're also going to be open to that. For those students who are shy and that might be really, really difficult for them, again, it doesn't need to be a full elevator pitch. Just saying to us, can you tell me a little bit more about your organization? That's all I need to see, and that's a big deal for us.
Okay, so that's a nice little icebreaker. Tell me more about your organization, and that sort of bridges the gap for you to start having a conversation with that student and make them stand out and be memorable as
Exactly,
well. Excellent.
exactly. Especially, I know, look, there's tons of tricks that employers use at this job fair to try to get you to our booth. I have candy at my booth, there's handouts, all those kinds of things. Trust me, I see the students, though, who just come, quickly write down their name, grab what it is, and go. I'm not going to remember you.
Right. No, that's a fair point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So help us understand, is there any technology that your team uses when a student applies? So applicant tracking system, maybe you're using LinkedIn, social media.
So we're really excited, actually, because at Moorelands this year we're launching a brand new database system that'll also work for our staff. So the application will be fully through that system. They'll be able to set up a profile. The system's called CampMinder, and we're very excited to use it. In addition to that, we're always using interview booking systems, Zoom to conduct those interviews, and when students we have an online application, so students include those LinkedIn connections or anything like that, I will go and look at it, especially because, on that online application, they might check off they're interested in 4 or 5 different jobs. And before the interview, I want to try to learn more about the students so I can steer that interview into 1 or 2 positions that would be the best fit for them.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. And then students who are trying to get into this industry, let's call it, I guess, service industry, would it be fair to say?
Social
it's a service?
services,
Social
human
services,
yeah.
If students are looking to break into that industry, do you have any holistic advice as to what that looks like from your experiences?
I can tell you that as a small charity, every charity like us is always open to volunteers, and it's amazing the connections you can make by just asking. I got started in this industry actually because there was an organization on campus called Piece by Piece that was a charity that taught conflict resolution to grade 5 students. I joined it as a student. It was a completely student-run organization, and that's what made me kind of shift my focus to this is where I want to be, and I started pursuing those things. We have tons of people who reach out to us, and if we don't have something for them in that immediate moment, I always try to respond and say, can I keep your application on file? This is when my hiring application is going to open, or let me connect you with this. There's tons and tons of charities, and even just walking up to your local school and asking to speak to a principal or vice principal and saying, can I volunteer, and getting that little foot in the door, you're going to make so many connections that way that you'll be able to get more and more into the industry and find that little niche that's right for you.
That's excellent advice. Thanks a lot, David.
Yeah.
You were once in the same shoes as these students, as you alluded to very early on. And, our students, some of the new grads that you're meeting today, what advice would you give to those who may be feeling discouraged during their job search?
I think something we talk a lot about at Moorelands, because we get a lot of applicants who actually aren't necessarily looking to go into our industry, but are interested in the job-related skills that we're looking to build. And so I always tell students, don't be afraid to look outside of your industry, to gain other experience, to take that 1 year off and go traveling or something like that. When I entered U of T, I was going to be a doctor, and and that doctor turned into biologist, turned into teacher, turned into year-round camp director, where I like to say I'm still a teacher, I just have a much more fun classroom now because I have a whole island as my classroom. And so if you're really discouraged at your own industry and you're not necessarily finding those opportunities that you think would be best, try to figure out what are those skills that might be lacking and where else could you gain them. One of the biggest ones that I always talk to students about is getting a lifeguarding qualification demonstrates so much leadership and responsibility to an employer in any industry. People don't think about it though, because they go, it's a lifeguard, that's not a job that I can turn into a career. But to an employer, what it demonstrates is so much more.
That is excellent advice once again, David. Thank you so much for being back on campus. We're so happy to have Mooreland back. We're so happy that you get to continue to engage with all of our students and new grads. We wish you all the best for today and for the days ahead.
Thank you very much. And I'm just going to end, if I can, by just saying, please come check us out at moorelands.ca. It's moorelands.ca. And you can find us on social media at Moorelands Kids.
Thank you so much, David.
Thanks
Have a great
so
day.
much.